Hey, welcome to ErinCon 4, Day 4, the big finale. This is it, last day. In fact, if I was at San Diego right now, I'd actually be at the airport waiting to catch a flight home, so it'd be all over. But because it's ErinCon, it's not over yet. Today, we're going to do some sketching. I know. Shocking new change to the program. Now, several people came in and bought sketchbooks from me, and they wanted sketches in them. And everybody wants me to do it live, and obviously I can't do all of them live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one today, Planet Hulk, and then we're going to go and do, as I promised yesterday, New Mutants Boom Boom from the 80s. So that's going to be sort of on the drawing agenda today. I might do a live feed tomorrow or Tuesday to do the rest of the sketchbook. So those people that want to see theirs drawn live will have an opportunity to do that. But I'm not promising because I have a life outside of this live feed, and sometimes things get in the way. So, all right. Well, let's not waste any more time. We have 14 people watching. That is a huge crowd for me, anyway. Fly Fox Pro is here. Rodney Ulabari is here. Angelo. Oh, God, you're going to do this. I'm just going to call you Angelo. Hey, thanks for showing up. Okay, so let's take a quick look over here at the table. That's my banner. We've seen that a few times, and we'll see it again. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. All right, so what wares am I peddling today? That's the big question. Well, they're pretty much the same wares as I've been peddling, quite frankly. I'd like to put a new twist on it, but I can't really. So rather than lie to you, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's the same stuff you've seen before. However, oh, wait a minute here. I just want to make sure my autofocus is off, and it is. Okay, so let's take an intensely close look. Of Raw Imagination, 20 years of sketches by me. Proof is my name on the cover. Ike is here. Thanks, Ike, for showing up. Rodney wants to know how the barbecue went. It went well. I cooked not only chicken thighs, but chicken breasts and asparagus wrapped in bacon. So basically I had 3 different meat groups on there that took different amounts of time to cook, and I was able to pretty much get them all done at the same time and didn't burn anything. So it was really quite successful. Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. Lewis, I know you were hoping that I would draw yours tonight. I'm not, but I'm going to do a live stream, as I said earlier, either today or tomorrow, and I will do it then. So you're getting a chance to see it live. It just won't be on this show. Rodney says it sounds yummy. Well, you know what? It was yummy. It was very successful. And we had, my wife made cheesecake. My mother made apple crisps. It was a double dessert. You could have whipped cream or ice cream. I guess that makes it a triple dessert option. So yeah, we had a really good time. It's about 100 degrees outside right now, and I'm upstairs. So actually it's not too hot up here yet, but we'll see if I start cooking later on here. Anyway, so I'm offering this sketchbook. If you don't have one, you've got to be asking yourself, why don't I have one? In fact, I got people out there who bought 2. I mean, come on. That's, supporting the cause. Let me put this up here with the sketchbook information on it. I'll do a sketch in there in just a minute. We'll talk more about the sketchbook. But anyway, those are $25 signed and numbered limited edition. No shipping this weekend. So you have to order before midnight tonight. And actually, that's true. If you want no shipping. And then if you want to sketch in it, the head sketch on the inside, $45. Free shipping this weekend only. Ends at midnight tonight. Now, I did have a request from a few people to kind of want to know if I had any of my old sketchbooks. Well, I do. I haven't been really pushing them because I've been pushing my new sketchbook, which makes sense, right? But these are available, and they're on my website as well. The oldest one I have is saved from the trash. Oops. This is actually a square-bound paperback. And I did actually try and sell this on Amazon. As you can see, I have a UPC code and everything on there. And oops, I got to quit hitting the camera. It's a bad habit. It's black and white, but it's got some good stuff in here. It does have a lot of fantasy stuff. Some of this stuff is reproduced in the Raw Imagination book. There's also stuff in here that isn't in there. And it does have a lot of Wonder Woman and superhero stuff in there of commissions I've done. So it does have a good cross selection of stuff. This is actually one of my better sketchbooks, but it is in black and white, and it's only $10. The most recent one I did before Raw Imagination was a couple of years ago. I did this book called Illegal, and as you can see, these are more like pamphlets. You know, I think they're 24 pages, but they're full color and they're digitally printed, so they're sort of expensive to print, and that's why these are $15. But they're signed and numbered, limited edition, only 300 of these. But I basically did portraits of villains, mostly Batman villains in here, but there's some nice pieces in there. And like I said, there's a couple Marvel there. There's Mysterio, and there's a couple nice ones there, Mystique and Female Loki. So anyway, that's available. That's Illegal. That's $15. This is sketches from 2014. It's when I was pumping up my Power Cubed book and series. But anyway, it's got some, this is a misprint. That's why I use this book. This isn't in the rest of the books. I mean, it is, but it's not there. Somehow an extra page got in this copy, so I'm using it as my sample copy. But anyway, it has some Kit Carter, a lot of Kit Carter stuff in it, actually. There's some Power Cube stuff. I've got all kinds of superhero stuff in here. Again, commissions I did before. None of the superhero stuff is in Raw Imagination. It's only in these little sketchbooks. There's some John Carter stuff. Ooh, I forgot about that one. So yeah, there's some pretty good stuff in there. And that sketch is 2014. And then there's two sketches 2013. And again, superhero stuff. There's some humorous superhero stuff. Some Shadowcat stuff. Some John Carter of Mars stuff. Some more John Carter of Mars stuff. Ms. Marvel, Wonder Woman, and Santa Claus. I mean, come on. So it has quite a variety of stuff, and it is full color. And to give you an idea, excuse my reach, that's sort of the size they are compared to, well, now I should zoom out a little bit. So they're small, much smaller book. They're basically 8.5 by 11 folded in half, right? So these are pamphlet sketchbooks, and these are available for $15 a piece, full color, about 24 pages, I think. And of course, Raw Imagination is a hardcover, 64 pages, full color. So anyway, all those are available. They're available on my website as well. Save from the Trash is $10. These guys are $15, the pamphlet ones. As you may recall from yesterday, I have issues of Aquaman 56, Justice League 41, 42, 48, and 49, and a couple of Dark Multiverse issues with the alternate cover. Those are still available. All those are $2.50 a piece, but you have to order $10 worth to make it worth my while to actually ship it to you. I've got pages, and I'm not going to go through all the pages, but if you look at day one especially, but day two of this con, if you check those videos out on YouTube or Facebook, I go over every single page. I didn't list the prices, so you have to contact me about the prices if there's a page you're interested in. But I have pages from 41, 42, issue 42, that is, of Justice League. So, some flash action. And then, of course, the newer issues 48 and 49 have pages available from those as well. And again, if you want to see all the pages, because they're not listed anyplace yet, you have to go back and look at the previous two videos, the first two videos, excuse me, of AaronCon 4. And I show all the pages, especially, I think, the first day. And you just contact me for prices on those. And also, as you recall, prints at $15 a piece. So let me go ahead and read those names just so they're on the video. Warrior Nouveau, Captain's Quarry, that's Captain America. Warrior in Repose, Girl Power, Star Wars Princesses, Jaws. And remember, I have this in 11 by 17, but I also have a 28, oh, let me try that again, 24 by 36 version. So it's, you know, large format movie poster size, at least the size like those Mondo prints are. And that's $40 plus $8 shipping. I'm not free shipping that, but the smaller prints are all free shipping this weekend. But I have two options on the Jaws. Little Leaguers, Rosie the Riveteer, it's always a popular one. Coral Princess, Spidey, and then San Diego 1946, Supergirl, based on Lana Turner. So those are prints I have available. Well, we'll just leave that stack there. And now we're gonna, now that I've got my cable all, oh man, it's like Christmas lights cord. There we go. Whee! All right, I'm finishing up Ms. Marvel. I still haven't got that done, the one I started on day one. It's just been that kind of a weekend. What can I tell you? So actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna finish this up because we're almost done with it, so you can actually see the finished piece. And then go do a sketchbook and then jump on and do boom, 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 boom. Josh Olive's here. Hi, Josh. Thanks for joining us. Fly Fox Pro, totally getting that one. I like the fantasy stuff. You should totally get that one. I don't know which one that is, but Angelo says, man, your creature drawing yesterday was out of this world. You should do a classic Universal Monster sketchbook. Yeah, that's a great idea. I should, because I do a lot of that stuff, and I should. Maybe I will. Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling on this. I don't have much left to do. I was actually spending most of this afternoon watching our puppy, because my wife recently had shoulder surgery, so she's kind of been up and down and sort of out of it. And my daughter's not feeling well today, so I'm like, oh, I guess I get to watch the dog and try and get this stuff done. But I ended up spending most of my time refilling these stupid pens, but they are refilled. So I'm going to use a little warm gray 0 here for blonde hair. And you'll notice I still haven't put her mask on. I'm going to do that last. Let's see if I can, I'm going to move the camera and see if we can get a better angle. And before Warren Montgomery drops in and tells me to change the banner, it's too big, I'm going to change the banner because it's too big. And we'll just go that, because we do know, we all know at this point what it is we're watching. You're watching this. Why doesn't that work? Gosh darn it. Oh, that's right. It's supposed to be an, oh, forget it. Well, I was trying to be cute and it didn't work. Mr. Hellstorm 74, that's Damien Hellstorm, also known as the son of Satan. Watch out for that guy. But he has joined us. Okay. So I'm going to go in with about, I think, a warm 2 here. Warm gray 2. I'll zoom in a little bit too, because it's, see, the resolution on this live stream is not great. So get in a little bit closer so you can see what's what. Ugh. I love how the ink just flows out of this when it's actually full of ink. It's just a thing of beauty, really. I'll leave some highlights in there. So kind of get that shiny feeling to her hair. Because these guys, they always... Stephen Ng made it in for day 4. Stephen, I really appreciate your dedication to the cause, man. Actually, I appreciate all you guys. A lot of you guys have been here a lot. And I appreciate it, because it would really kind of suck if I was doing this and no one was watching. I'm going to hit these edges with a little warm 0. All right. Okay, so she has blonde hair, so I don't want to get too carried away and end up making it too dark. Oh, you know what? Her lightning bolt on her torso here is yellow. So again, I'm going with the warm gray against the cool gray, black and cool gray highlighted costume. That'll make it look more yellow. Okay, so we do that, and I go in and outline with a 2. Fly Fox Pro. Well, I'm drawing my own pages, so it's nice to get inspired. I'm listening to your calm voice, my calm, reassuring voice. I'm the Bob Ross of comic book art, except I don't have the hair. Okay, so there's the S. Now, I always add red when there's red to be added. And so we're going to do her sash. Is that what you call it? Her belt sash or whatever. We'll go in and make that red. Now I use, this is a YR09 called a Chinese orange. It's red, but it's not. My daughter would sit here if she was up here and argue with me that it's orange, but it's red. It's a very red orange, and I don't like real intense red because I want you to, obviously you're gonna notice the sash, but I don't want it to be a super hot red, so it just totally overpowers everything else. And I tend to do my colors very understated most of the time anyway. So it's just like me to pick a red that's more in the orange spectrum and less in the hot red section. Oops, sorry. I do get a little sloppy with these because, well, technically it is a convention sketch, so that allows me to be a little sloppier. But also I know I'm going to kind of shore up these, the outline of this. So it's going to kind of draw in some of the bleed. So it's really not that big of a deal. And if you could see this clearly, which you really can't, but there's still some pencil lines in here and stuff. So I clean it up, but I don't go full out like if I was doing a really high-end, much more expensive commission. I kind of leave some of the pencil here and there just to kind of, so I don't know. I feel like if you get a sketch, you probably want it to have sort of a feel of a sketch to it, even though these are much more elaborate than sketches would ever be normally. What I would consider a sketch, right? The stuff that, for example, in my sketchbook is usually a lot rougher than this. I'm going to use a little blue pencil for her eyes. You're not going to be able to pick it up on the on the monitor, but when the person that ordered this gets this, they will definitely be able to see it and notice it. Let me get another pad here. I'm running out of, need a little more humph behind my drawing board here. Okay, so there we go. How many comics of Fly Fox Pro wants to know, how many pages of comics do you estimate you've drawn over the years? I did figure it out once, and I can't remember, or I tried to figure it out once. I have copies of just about every page I've ever drawn and every cover, and it's, well, you figure if I've done, I haven't done 12 issues a year for 25 years, but not all that far off. So, I mean, I would bet I've done 10 issues a year for 25 years. So if that's 250 issues, 250 different comics, 20 pages a piece, what is that, 5,000 pages or something? So a lot would be the answer. Don Korn is joining us. He says, hey, Aaron, looking forward to getting a hardcover book. He just ordered one. Yeah, Don, I am not going to do your sketch in your book tonight, but I'm going to try and do another live feed in the next day or two, just of me finishing up the sketches in the sketchbooks, because I'm not going to get to it tonight on this one. But so keep your eyes open on my Facebook page for postings there. Yes, finally someone who gets the name. That's what Mr. Hellstorm says. You got to be old enough to get that joke, right? Okay, and I definitely am. I was reading comics in the 70s and was just appalled when I saw Son of Satan. Okay. Marvel could never make up their mind. Sometimes Satan existed in the universe, and sometimes it was like Mephisto was Satan. And they never could make up their mind, because I know the devil actually appeared in a couple issues of Ghost Rider. I mean, the actual devil. So, and then of course you have Damien Hellstorm, who is the son of Satan, not the son of Mephisto. So it's been kind of weird that Marvel would kind of go back and forth and never could really make up their mind. Okay, so they also had, like, was it Satana, the devil's daughter, or something like that? I mean, it was like that, I guess, that mid-70s where, like, you know, they thought the occult was really, really big, and that's what spawned all these monster books and devil books and all that kind of stuff. But they were short-lived. And once again, superheroes took control. Doggone superheroes, can't keep them down, man. Okay, so I'm going over this with an 8.0 to kind of just punch up the holding line. It's not necessarily all that much thicker than what I originally did as an outline, but the thing is, when you start markering over the top of them, it tends to gray them down, the blacks down a little bit. So I want to punch that up. I think it looks much nicer. Oh, are they doing a Son of Satan television show? I didn't know that. I assume that's going to be on Disney Plus or whatever. Makes sense. I mean, they did like a Hellblazer, didn't they? Or a Preacher and Hellblazer and all those. So there must be an audience for that type of thing. Admittedly, I really don't watch TV that much anymore. Ever since Lost so epically disappointed me with its season finale, that I vowed never to get sucked into a television show again. So, and I've been pretty successful. Although I have to admit, my wife was watching reruns of Downton Abbey, and for a show that you would think, okay, that's got to be boring, I got kind of sucked into it a little bit, the whole soap opera of the whole thing, and I watched several episodes there with her before I kind of cut out on it. But the funny thing about episodic TV, and I found this with The Walking Dead, and you'd think I would be a guy, you know, zombie television, I'm there. And I was for like the first 3 seasons, and until they killed the governor. And then to me, it just sort of felt repetitive. You know, you had new characters, but same old, same old. And so I went cold turkey and just quit watching it. When I get bored with something, I don't have withdrawals or anything. I just stop watching or stop reading, you know, and I just never look back. So I was actually reading Jurassic Park. It was either my wife was pregnant with Josh or we had just had Josh. So it was, 27 years ago. And, you know, if anybody's read the book, you get to the point, it's early on too, you know, it's like the first third of the book. Nothing's really happened yet. But you hit these pages where Michael Crichton just starts, there's just pages and pages of him reproducing genetic code on the page. And I stopped reading one night, and that was where I stopped, because I was like, what the heck is this? Because it was like 10 pages of just genetic code on every page of the book, you know. And I was like, this is dumb. I don't need to see all this. And so I quit reading the book. I put it down and I never picked it up again. Thankfully, I saw the movie, so I know how it ends. Okay, so Dawn, has it been 12 years since we met? Man, time flies. It was in Chicago, I want to say at a Wizard show, back when Wizard shows were still like sort of like comic shows. Yeah, I'm gonna have to zoom out again here. I might as well, since we're not really working on the face right now. You can just kind of. I did a seminar at one of those Wizard shows. I can't remember if it was when I was still at CrossGen or if it was just after CrossGen. But I was still at CrossGen because I remember I used CrossGen art. It was on storytelling or acting, acting for the page, or I don't know what exactly. I had some clever little title for it. But I had like a big crowd there, and because people are always, you know, interested in inside information on that kind of thing. So I remember doing that and actually had a really good time, and we had several hundred people there. So it was actually, a lot of times I go to a panel and nobody shows up. I was at Motor City Con years ago, and I knew I was going to forget his name. The guy who drew Tom Strong. Somebody jump in and help me out. Gosh darn it. Why can't I? This is terrible. I'm so bad with names. WizardCon 2008. Yes, that was it. Chris Sprouse. Thank you, Don. So Chris Sprouse and I are on this panel in Detroit, right? And we get up there and I figured, well, no one cares about me, but certainly people care about Chris Sprouse, right? Apparently not. There was one girl in the audience. One girl in this entire hall. And so we just kind of laughed about it and kept waiting for someone to walk in, and no one did. So we got down and sat next to her in the audience in the chairs and just, you know, let her ask us questions and talked about comics and whatever she wanted to talk about. So it's kind of like store signings. Sometimes you have a lot of people. Sometimes you have no people. And I've had both, believe me. But the first big one I had was here in town, the Portland area. I was actually in Beaverton. People that are familiar with the area. I did Things from Another World, and it was for the New 52 Justice League International launch. Oh my gosh, I felt like Frank Miller. There were so many people there. It's just ridiculous. And I'm drawing her mask on there right now. If you can't tell, I'll go back in here tighter so we can see what I'm doing. I mean, I was there for a couple hours and I just had a line that just never ended. And it was really, you know, I mean, that's where you kind of feel good when actually people show up. And every time I've done one at Bedrock City in Houston, I've had a really good sized crowd. So that's always been very, very fun. But boy, there is nothing more humiliating than doing a store signing and having nobody show up. And I've had plenty of those. So I'm always very careful about doing store signings and making sure that, you know, that they're a good store and a store that promotes really well and has a history of actually, you know, having people show up for their events. Okay. The reason I drew the mask on last was, if it isn't obvious, because I did not want to smear the black when I was doing her face. So, because I have the worst time. The blacks, the black smearing when I'm using these markers, and they're not supposed to. So, and really, why would Copic markers bleed their own markers? It doesn't make any sense, and yet they do. But I bought that Blick. If you remember, I said yesterday I bought some Blick Black instead of Copic, and that seemed not to bleed under the Copic markers, or at least not as bad. So that's very odd to me, but so I'm going to, I may keep using just the Blick and say the heck with Copic's Black. Maybe I'll quit using Copic markers altogether then. What do you think of that? What do they got to say about that? Okay, we need to punch up her eye a little bit there. Okay, when I say punch up her eye, I don't mean punch her in the eye, but I mean punch up the line work so it's a little bit more obvious. Okay, there we go. It's a beauty. I got a little bit of rough spots here on her chin, the pen, because nothing is ever beyond being fixed. You can't really see it. It's right there. So I'm going to take this white chalk pencil, charcoal white, pardon me, and then it covers up the marker really well. And I'll just go ahead and kind of smooth that side of her face a little bit. I went over just a hair, but into the black, I mean. So I'm going to go back in here and just clean that up. I think we're good. All right, so I'm going to, as we grab into the old, let's get this over here a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to go with a warm 4, which I just refilled, so it should be ready to flow to kind of do a little bit of an outline here. Okay. And this again really sort of punches up the final figure, makes it stand out a little bit more, I guess would be a way of putting it. Just realized I need to put some grays in this glove here. See, it's still white there because I didn't put any gray in there. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. So I got to do that. Again, I'm not really all concerned if I bleed into the color a little bit. It's just sort of an effect that, again, when you're doing a sketch, I just think there's an inherent looseness that's almost expected in the finished drawing. And so I try to give a little bit of that, even though this is still pretty tight as far as, you know, a sketch would be considered, I'm sure. But and although I've loosened up quite a bit in my penciling in my old age, I'm still probably would be considered fairly tight penciler. But I've really recently been admiring guys like Lee Weeks and Ron Garney who, you know, don't do super detailed stuff. They do much looser work, but has a certain energy to it. And they both draw so well that it doesn't matter if it's loose or if it's, you know, got all these tight finished line work stuff on it. And I've been sort of trying to get myself just to be a little bit looser, just to give maybe a little bit more energy into the drawing so it doesn't feel like it's overdone when it gets inked. Boom, how about that? All right, let's jump back and take a look at what we've done here. it is. Not too shabby. Oh, see, I almost forgot again. I've got to put that gray on that gloves. I'm going to take a C3 here. Hey, Art, you're just the guy I wanted to talk to. Art Taber, ladies and gentlemen, is joining us, the legend of comics industry. The only guy I know other than Walter Simonson that's older than me in the industry. Oh, wait, Howard Chaykin's older than me, too. Anyway, so there we go. I'm going to sign this sucker. Okay, so Art, here's my question. When you're sending out a link to somebody to join your chat or whatever you're doing, your show, I tried to do that yesterday, and when I went and it said, you know, send it, gives you the option of Gmail, email, or Messenger, right? And so I chose Messenger, and it said type in, you know, who it's going to, the name of the person it's going to, you know, because it goes through Facebook. And so I typed the name in, but the image stayed gray. It wouldn't let me send it. You know, and so, but when I did it through email, it did let me send it. But so I must have been doing something wrong when I tried to send the link to join me in the chat through Facebook and Messenger. So what's the key? What am I forgetting? What didn't I do that I need to do to make that possible? There we go again. There's Ms. Marvel. She's done. So her and the Creature from the Black Lagoon are the only two I've actually got finished. But we're going to finish Boom Boom. But first, a word from our sponsor. Of course, I'm joking. We have no sponsors. I'm going to grab a book over here so I can actually draw the Hulk in it. Ugh. Okay, so this makes my scrolling banner at the bottom relevant again. Are you sending a Streamyard link? Yes, I'm using Streamyard. And the image just comes up on screen, and it says, you know, whoever you know, name of the person you're sending the, you know, the link to, and then it says message underneath it, and then it has like a Streamyard image, and then it has like a save or cancel button at the bottom, or pardon me, send or cancel button, and the send button stays gray when I type in the name. So I'm not sure what the heck's going on there. But I do know that as Art ponders this, I do know that I'm going to draw Planet Hulk, because everybody loves Planet Hulk. He was in a movie and everything. Just copy and paste the link from like their Facebook page. Victor, I'm talking about getting on a panel with a channel that has lots of people watching. I don't know if he was take a shot at me or not there. If he was okay, hang on a second. Roscoe says we all love art. Aaron's art mostly. Oh, that was good. I like that. Anytime you can sting Art Taber, you got to do it. Art is a good guy, and he has a chronomechanics book on Indiegogo. You should go support. There's the creature. Dun, dun, dun. I will post all these on like Facebook and Twitter with high resolution scans so you can actually see them really well. But yeah, so that's what he did last night. Art, you're no help, man. Let's see, I typically just copy. Oh, there's Louis Bright Raven jumping in to save the day. I typically just copy the link and then go over to the. Oh, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Then go over, copy the link to the Streamyard link, right? And then paste in the person's messenger directly. I guess that would make sense, right? Aaron, were you happy with the character Hulk scenes in Thor Ragnarok? I would have liked to have seen it as an entire movie. I actually enjoyed that movie. It was kind of silly and fun, but I don't really like the fact they dumbed down Thor, but it was still, I mean, just in and of itself, I thought the movie was entertaining. I was more pissed that I didn't get a thank you from Marvel in the credits. That really ticked me off, but it's not the first time they did that to me. So awesome. Creech. Oh, I thought you were making, wasn't there like a comic book, an image book called Creech or something? I don't know. Not your best drawing, the creature from the Black Lagoon. So Victor, are you just, what are you doing? Just taking shots at me today? What's the problem? Is Victor what they call a troll? I don't know who that is, but he's, well, you know what? It's free country, right? For the time being. Actually, I didn't create any of the characters that showed up in the movie. That's the thing. Who was the guy? Greg Pak, of course, wrote it, and Carlo Paglione did most of the design work and stuff. So I came in. So he did all the initial design work, and when the alien creature things that came down and like fed on and Hulk and stuff, I designed those and what they looked like when they had their armor on and things like that. And Meek, when he got bigger and wasn't no longer like a little, wimpy bug guy, when he became like the giant, strong bug guy, I designed that. But they didn't use it. I mean, if they'd done the whole Hulk movie, I thought, the whole Planet Hulk as a movie, they would have, I would have got some of the stuff that I actually designed in there, but none in the movie. Now, in the animated movie, they didn't give me credit either. But the interesting thing is they interviewed me for the special DVD. So I'm interviewed on the special features DVD, and they didn't give me any credit on the film, so, or the video. It says based on the comic created by Greg Pak and Carlo. And I'm like, hello, I drew almost half of that book, that series. So I was a little ticked off about that. They said, oh, sorry about it. We won't let it happen again. And the movie came out and they did the same thing to me. So that's just life. No respect. The Rodney Dangerfield of comics. Oh, Vic isn't a troll. He's just a spaz. Well, okay, I can respect that then. Let's see. So we're going to blue line this guy like I always do. Thing is, I always draw the head too big, and then I don't really have enough. I keep forgetting that I have to put this little Roman thingy on top of his head. And so it always sort of gets cut off, but gosh darn it, that's just life. I've told this story before, but since I'm drawing Hulk, I'll tell it again. Way back in the early 90s, when I was actually still I was working on What The for Marvel, right? That humor series, and I was doing the Forbish Man stories. So I was really trying to get kind of my foot in the door for mainstream comics over there at Marvel. So I had this, no lie, I had this Hulk story where Hulk goes to another planet and becomes a gladiator on that planet. And I can't remember the details of the story now, but I pitched this to Marvel and they were like, no. I mean, I'm sure it was more had to do with me being who I was or who I wasn't at that time, that, whether or not they actually liked the story or not. But then, 10 years later or so or more, Planet Hulk comes out and I'm like, wow, this is exactly like the story I came up with. And I'm not saying that anybody ripped me off, because I know Greg didn't. I mean, he didn't have any idea, but I just thought it was one of those really bizarre coincidences, kind of funny things. Boom, boom. No, Victor's being nice to me now. Okay, you can stay, Victor. Thank you. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Okay. I can get a little down and dirty with this when I get into the inking stage because it's the Hulk. So, you know, those of you who ordered, and I've said this before as well on these streams, that those of you who order, you know, sketches of women, they're not as, you know, how should we say, I don't want to say detailed isn't the right word, but there's not as much line work on them because I don't really like to go in and sort of mess up a pretty face. But when you got an ugly face like this, I can just go in there and do all sorts of crazy stuff to ugly them up because it's actually what you want. So it looks like some of these, you know, when I do a monster or a Hulk or something like that, they look like they're more detailed. And it just, like I said, when I'm doing a drawing, I sort of try and do what is necessary for the particular drawing I'm working on. Okay. Actually, this is the one book, the Planet Hulk stuff I actually did over the years have done really well royalty-wise because they put it in so many different trade paperbacks and hardcovers and collections over the years that it's working on that project was the gift that kept on giving in terms of that. You know, still nowhere near like, you know, kind of royalties and stuff guys were getting back in the heyday. But it's the most I've ever got has been generated by this book. So I'm using an 8 here to sort of flesh everything out, or outline everything, I guess would be a better way to put that. Empire Strikes Back was on today on TV, and so I had that in the background while I was working on some stuff. Had to finish a Justice League page today, which I did before I could get on to working on convention stuff, or the virtual convention stuff. Actually, it's real convention stuff. The convention's virtual, so. Okay. The most likes I ever got on Twitter was a Hulk headshot. It wasn't even a Planet Hulk headshot. It was just a Hulk headshot similar to this. And it got like 1.2 thousand likes. And I've never got anything close to that, right? And I just found that it was really bizarre. And then I posted a sketch I did of the Thing, sort of, you know, I spent like an hour on it and posted that, and that got 1,000 likes. And that was like the second most ever. So it's just weird. I mean, I posted color Wonder Woman pieces and, you know, never got close to that kind of numbers. So I did those two, basically just black and white sketches. This is very weird. So I've moved down to a micron 0.01 now for kind of the finer detail stuff. I always draw Planet Hulk from this, when I do a kind of a profile thing, I always draw it from this side, and you never, his scar is actually on his other cheek, so it's like I never end up drawing his scar, which was kind of part of the shtick. You know, they called him the green scar or something like that, didn't they? Pretty sure they did. Not in the movie, of course, the comic. I was never a big Hulk reader. I read him a little bit when I was a kid because I just thought he was too dumb, you know. It's kind of like Man-Thing. It's like you can only read so many issues of Man-Thing because he doesn't really do anything. He's sort of a not a conduit, but a anyway. The story generally, he gets involved in other people's stories because obviously Man-Thing can't think or talk, so it's like he can't be really have a story about him. It has to be somebody else, and he just happens to be a part of that. And I always felt, you know, Hulk had his own stories, but the fact that he was just so dumb that it just seemed it didn't really engage me that well. But when Keown was on him, and he kind of got smart for a while, or when he was like the Gray Hulk in Vegas, and he was like, you know, he could think, but he was kind of had like a really bad attitude. And then that, to me, they sort of hit stride with this Planet Hulk. I think they finally got his attitude right and his intelligence level right. You know, where he's just kind of like this angry, you know, he's smart enough to get the job done, but not too smart. And he's, you know, and I'd like to see the Hulk be like that more often. But again, haven't really read anything that's been going on at Marvel for a long time, so I don't really know what they're doing with him. Let's see who jumped in here. To make long lines, you need to lock your elbow and turn. This is responding to Victor, like this, or you lock your wrist and go like this. Don't try and hold your hand off the paper and do it. You got to get your heel of your hand down in there and just like that, and you'll find you'll have amazing control. Fifth page of my comic officially penciled. Fly Fox Pro, he's moving along. Good for you. A Mutt Man wants to know, Aaron, have you thought about relaunching Garbage Man or any other indie ideas? Yes, I am thinking about it. Would you ever start an online how to draw comics course? I might very soon, Comics Legend, because I don't know if I have any work after I finish this Justice League annual, so I may have to do something pretty quick. We shall see if something comes up, but if not, I'll be doing launching an indie book, and again, either on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. It might be Garbage Man, it might be Kick Carter, I don't know. I just contacted Dark Horse about at least putting all the Garbage Man stuff in a trade paperback for me, all the existing stuff. I'm redrawing all the Batman pages with new material so I can get rid of Batman out of it, which is part of the deal with me getting the character back. I obviously have to take Batman out of the story. And he wasn't a huge part of the story, but he was sort of an integral part, and appeared in about, I don't know, over maybe 10 pages out of 120. So I have to put in my own characters that fit the same mold as Batman, and luckily I do have some, and so they'll be worked in to that. But if I did it that way, it would allow me to have a much lower what do you call it, price threshold or whatever that I have to hit, because I wouldn't be doing any really charging for any of the new material. I would just be the cost of printing and shipping, which for 120 page trade paperback is still going to be pretty expensive printing bill. I mean, it's not like printing a 48 page comic. I mean, 120 pages is a lot. So I'm still probably going to would be up there on that, needing to raise about $10,000 just to cover printing and shipping. So hopefully I'd be able to do that. But, you know, the last campaign I did was obviously a little bit disappointing. But I also had a really high, you know, number that I was trying to hit money-wise. And I think, you know, a lot of people don't get involved in those if they don't think they're going to hit their mark, right? Because if you're, what's the point? I'm not going to make any money. It's not going to happen anyway. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you don't back it, and then it doesn't hit the mark, and then it doesn't get made. But so anyway, so I'm working on a strategy here. But again, Garbage Man being a monster book, I question how many people are actually interested in reading it. I mean, obviously, I think it's good, but you know, and I think it is good, but it's still, we're still dealing with a really huge superhero market, and you know, I think it's a tougher sell. And I only have really one legitimate superhero idea in my creator-owned list of ideas. You know, I've got a fantasy one that I've got the script for. I just haven't started drawing it yet. I had a horror western that actually have the script for, and then talk myself out of it because I figured, you know, the two worst things you could possibly do would be a western and a horror book. So, so I don't know. Yeah, to answer your question a million times, making it twice as long as it needs to be. I'm working on some stuff, trying to figure it out. Okay, there we go. Planet Hulk. Yay! Get in there a little closer so it's see. Muttman wants to know if I've ever done anything else besides comics. Yes, I worked in commercial art or advertising, if you would, for 2.5, 3 years before I broke into comics. So I was doing like storyboarding commercials, and you know, I didn't work in film, which is odd because I went to film school, but actually never ended up working in film. I read scripts at TriStar, but that doesn't really count. Roscoe Davis wants a horror western. Thank you. Yeah, well, does anybody else though? That's the problem, Roscoe. You and me apparently have similar tastes, but I don't know if there's enough people that have that same taste. Okay, this is book number 177. So let me go ahead and magic number 177 in there. There it is, signed, numbered, ready to ship. All righty. Again, let me give you guys a quick little preview of what's in here. There's a lot of fantasy stuff. There's some Conan stuff. Creature from the Black Lagoon stuff. Wonder Woman type stuff. Sharks, vampires, comedy, serious. There's some more Conan. Lizard Cowboy. Come on now. Trolls. Tons of John Carter of Mars stuff. So it's actually a really good book, and you get a sketch in it for $20. Hey, or an extra $20, I should say. I think it's a pretty good deal. So anyway, there we go. That's Planet Hulk. Boom. Now, let's see. As long as it's better than Wesley Snipes' horror western Gallow Walkers. Well, I never saw it, so I'll take your word for that. Why not do an artist variant like other artists do for certain comics? Why not do an artist's variant? What do you mean? Thank you, Roscoe. Well, I did the Garbage Man when you. Well, I did back the Garbage Man when you tried to kickstart it, but then I'm sick of Marvel and DC superheroes. Well, I think that's becoming more and more prevalent in the industry because I just don't think a lot of people really like what they're doing with the characters these days. So. I should be on a John Carter book. I love John Carter, but no one buys John Carter. Dynamite doesn't pay enough on the interiors. I do some covers for him occasionally, but they don't pay enough. Although if you have no work, I guess some work is better than none. So Vampire Cowboys from Space, now we're talking. Edgar Garcia, is this like now? That's such a vague question. I don't really know what that means. Is this live, is what you're asking me? Because yes, it is. It's happening right now. But if you're talking about something else, then I don't know how to answer that question. All right, so I cheated a little bit because I had to reference this, and I did a little blue line here for this Boom Boom, because this is not, I'd never seen this Boom Boom before, this version. Apparently is late 80s or something. So exclusive covers like the, well, yeah, but see, you do something like that, Lloyd, and then you got to pay them, right? So you're still kind of at the mercy of hoping you make enough money to pay them. So, and I get what you're saying, and I was going to do that, but if I do kick Carter, I'd probably hire Terry to do one and Adam Hughes to do one, and I'm sure those would sell really well, even if mine didn't. So, honestly, I've been really sort of kind of up against it on this Justice League stuff I've been working on. It's really been keeping me busy, so I haven't been able to do a lot of planning for what might be next if I do an independent project. So, but I'm going to have to really start thinking about it here soon, because I've only got about 20 pages left on this Justice League annual. And something may drop. I mean, sometimes it does, but right now there just seems to be so much confusion and chaos in the comic world right now because of the COVID shutdown, and then the distribution thing, and and then Dan DiDio getting let go at the first of the year, which caused DC to dump their entire publishing plan. And I'm not sure that they've figured out long term what they're going to do, and so it's kind of hard to assign projects other than Batman and Superman, the books that just are going to be there every month anyway, when you don't really know what you're going to do. So, and that's all speculation, because I really don't have any inside information. I was pretty good friends with Dan, and he sort of, I'd always call up Dan DiDio and go, "Hey, I need something in a month." He goes, "Okay, we'll find something for you," and then he would, find something for me. But like I said, he's not there anymore, so I could call him, but he probably couldn't get me a gig. I just kind of thought it was funny. Did it happen in the 80s, or maybe it was more in the 90s, when a lot of these superheroes got costumes that were just sort of like fashion trends? They weren't really superhero outfits. They were just more like clothes with a bunch of accessories on them, that were kind of trendy at that period of time. Oh. Edgar Garcia says, he said my name. I'm going to say it again. Edgar Garcia. There. It's like 3 times I've said it now. All righty. Like, who would fight crime in like a halter top sweater thing that doesn't even cover your shoulders? I mean, you can't imagine that would stay on very long, right? But it never really was about being realistic, was it? And it still isn't. Although there seems to be more of a push for that, which I don't really like. It's like I get enough reality, in our everyday life. I want to go read a comic book or see a movie and just kind of be taken to, another place. I don't want to be reminded of the current misery of our society. can thank Frank Miller for making everything grim and gritty. And maybe The Killing Joke a little bit too, but I really like The Killing Joke. I'm talking about some great artwork, man. Boland's artwork in that book is just mind-numbingly good. He's got these like big bracelets that would, you know. I mean, it does. It looks like you like Madonna or something in the 80s, you know. Mm. Really like detective books. Yeah, they don't sell well. I do too. I love detective films, like film noir stuff. Yeah, I love The Shadow. Yeah. Matt James says, I don't think I've ever seen this costume before. I hadn't either, but the guy sent me a reference for it and said it was sort of based on something that Art Adams did in like 1987 or something. So I don't know how long it was around. Because the only Boom Boom I ever remember was, no, wait a minute, is that the same one as the short black hair in the 90s? Was that Boom Boom? Or was that somebody else? God, I don't even remember. She's got the big groovy glasses. I'm not going to put them over her eyes. We'll just put them up here on her head. That's Jubilee with the dark. Yeah, that's right. God, who was Boom? I don't even remember Boom Boom then. Weren't they basically the same? They have the same powers though. X-Men were sort of like convenient heroes because you didn't really have to come up with an origin story since they just got their powers through mutation. So they could basically give them any power you wanted, right? And you didn't have to explain how they got it. I'm using a 0.3 technical pencil for those of you keeping track at home. She could be in the Go-Go's. It's like, this is not like a costume you could just change into to go fight crime, right? She'd have to be wearing this all the time, like Gilligan's Island. You know how they never change their clothes? She'd have to be in this costume, clothing all the time. Can you imagine how long it would take to get into this outfit with all the little, you know, the necklace and the earrings and the bracelets and the belts? Crazy. She's got a belt and these little pant things she's wearing, these little booty shorts. She's got a belt right there. She's got another belt there. And her jeans, she has like these little booty cut off jean shorts, right? But then underneath here, I guess she has like fishnet stockings or something. And then like leg warmers down here. I mean, it's insane, man. I will do all the cross hatching for the fishnets after that'll be the last thing I do, because I'm not going to put down black fishnets and then have them bleed all over the place when I try to marker it up. I guess she's supposed to be barefoot or something. I don't know. It's an awfully large, small toe. Probably should give her daintier feet than I just did, but Boom Boom was affiliated with X Factor. You know, I should have known that because I actually read X Factor. I didn't read X-Men, but I read X Factor because Louise Simonson was writing, and I thought she did a really terrific job. And then Walt Simonson took over penciling, so I was there for that. I thought that was really cool. And of course, the first appearance of Apocalypse and all that kind of stuff. So it was some good stuff in that comic. But there was a lot of, like, was it Exterminators? Was like a miniseries or something that had a lot of these funky characters in it. So I don't know, but I'll try to take you guys' word for it because I do not remember this stuff at all. Yeah, that's a good idea, Comics Legend. I'd have to find a platform where I could actually do that on, that I could get the word out and people would actually come and watch and pay for the course. I don't know. I guess people do stuff on Patreon and stuff, but I've looked there and I've seen other comic book people on Patreon, and they got like 10 followers, or 20 followers, and you're like, it's hardly worth the effort. It's all about numbers, man. It always has been, and the way you get numbers is reaching people, which is what I'm trying to do with these things, to get more people familiar with my work, so you have more people, hopefully, that will at least consider supporting it when you do something. I just don't like that foot. Oh, was she an X-Force? Yeah, no. Don Corn Sasquatch. What the heck is that supposed to mean? Hooker by day, hero by night. There you go. Oh, this is the Brett Blevins design from Marvel Universe's reference. She wears Chuck Taylor Converse shoes in that design. Well, the reference this guy sent me was like barefoot, so I don't know. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I think so. Rodney wants to know, weren't the exterminators the original X-Men in their civilian guises? I think that's correct. I can't really remember. I know there was those two, egg-headed mutant kids that they found and ended up trying to protect. But I remember reading that and kind of liking that miniseries. Yeah, that's right. They were hired. Weren't they hired to go hunt down mutants, but then they would catch them and then actually secretly save them? That was kind of their deal. I think that's right. Sasquatch equals Bigfoot. Oh, I see. Oh, Don, if you got to explain the jokes, man. And even after you explained it to me, it still took me a minute. Oh, it's good stuff. Okay. And I guess she throws like little energy bursts, right? I don't know. I'm putting them out here anyway, just in case. All right, so let's ink this sucker. Who inks my stuff the best? Well, that depends. Kajabi. Okay, Comics Legends. I will do that. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it. I can find a piece of paper. Oh, here's one right here. Kajabi. Boom. Who inks my stuff the best? That's an excellent question. It depends on what I'm going for. Matt Ryan, who's generally my regular inker, or has been since Mystic, give or take a few guys. He inks like I ink, except he has more patience. So his stuff is generally a little bit more controlled than mine is. Because I tend to get bored inking my own stuff. When I do that, I can get sloppy and, that's why I usually only ink my covers, because I can stay focused on that, just doing the one thing. But when I start doing interior pages and stuff, I tend to get a little bored, because it's like, okay, I just drew it. Now I got to redraw it again by inking it. And it's just like, I kind of get this into this mode where I just want to get this done. And then you start hurrying and then it gets sloppy and looks like crap. So I've inked a few interiors, like my Legends of the Dark Knight story that turned out pretty well. But anyway, so Matt, I really like Matt's inks because, like I said, he inks like me, except he does it better than I do it. I love Danny Mickey over me because he inks with a pen and he has he brings a different sensibility to my pencils that I really, really like. So I would, he's my go-to pen guy, and Matt Ryan's my go-to brush guy. Matt Banning did a good job over me when the few things we did together. Jonathan Glapian did one issue of Metamorpho over me that turned out really well, but that was the only time we ever worked together, so I couldn't necessarily say he was like my favorite inker because we only worked one time together, but what he did on that one issue was really good. Norm Rapman inked me on Sentinel Squad and did a really nice job. So I'd have to say, I mean, if you said pick, one guy, it would either be Danny Mickey or Matt Ryan. And again, it would sort of depend on what I was going for look-wise, because they are very different. Now, Danny is in the process, it's about 2/3 of the way done, was inking a pinup, a Garbage Man pinup over me that I was going to use in my Indiegogo Garbage Man book. And holy crap, does it look awesome. Now, I've done a video of it on my channel, my YouTube channel. So you should check that out, because it's about half done or so, and in the video, and it's really cool, because he added a lot of stuff in terms of like line work and little things that just are really, I think, look really cool. Also, you guys, if you're here and you haven't subscribed to my channel, do subscribe to my channel, please. I need the subscribers, and it doesn't cost you guys anything. So, and then you get like notified when I do a new video. I guess that's how it works. Internet genius, I am not. That's not the same pencil. That's because I'm inking right now Edgar Garcia, who now I've said your name 4 times. It's a Le Pen drawing pen, snake pen. I use a combination of these and microns. It's kind of whatever is within reach. It's funny, I asked Mike Plug and I asked Kevin Nolan, not at the same time, but the same question at different times. I asked Kevin, I said, what do you use when you're inking? And he said, whatever is within reach. And I kind of laughed. And then I asked Plug that question, and he answered the same way. He said, whatever's within reach. So, and I've gotten that way, that sometimes even when I'm making like a cover or whatever, what I would consider finished art, sometimes part of it is pen, part of it's brush, and it's not even always the same pen. I mean, as long as you can get the tool to do what you want it to do, it doesn't really matter what you use. Oh, this actually turned out pretty nice. Damien Hillstrom, or I should say Mr. Hillstrom, still has my sludge stuff in his collection. I appreciate that, man. So you go way back with me. That's great. Thank you. Flyfox Pro says I only have sludge #1. Well, that's just inexcusable. Sludge 3 has the first appearance of Lord Pumpkin, which would be a significant first appearance if Marvel hadn't buried all the characters. So I did a 5-page, it wasn't the origin, well, actually I did do the origin of Lord Pumpkin. And if you guys remember, there was a magazine called Hero Magazine that was sort of trying to compete with Wizard. And so I mean me and Malibu, did an exclusive with Hero. And so the writer who was the original creator of Lord Pumpkin, Dan Danko, although it was me and Gerber that sort of fleshed him out, but Dan is actually the guy who came up with the concept and the character. And so we did an origin story. He wrote it. I penciled it, and it didn't get inked. It was just shot from my pencils and colored by Albert Calleros, who I think works in animation now. But Albert was like by far the best colorist at Malibu. I mean, he was really, really good. And not to demean anybody else who worked there, just I thought he was the best. And he colored it, and it was just beautiful. And they printed it, and it was just dark and looked terrible. But anyway, that's sort of interesting. So you get that. There's a Hero Magazine actually has an original Lord Pumpkin story in it that has his origin, and it's I can't remember the date, but it was the Ultraverse cover. It had Prime on the cover, like pulling something like in a tug of war type thing or something. He was like pulling back towards the camera. So if you see that issue has a exclusive Lord Pumpkin story in it. And then Dan Danko, the writer, we did Lord Pumpkin 0. Some of you may remember that. But then we did another 5 or 6 page story. And it was when Lord Pumpkin first meets his sidekick Pistol. If you remember him from the Gerber stories in Sludge, he was this little kid who basically used guns and stuff and, blew people away. And we did the first meeting of those guys. It was like a 5 page story, right? And I penciled and inked it and turned it in about the time that Marvel bought Malibu. And the story never got published, and I never got the original art back. Now, I'm going to assume that someone didn't steal it and it's just sitting in a warehouse someplace. But yeah, so that's kind of disappointing. But I do have Xeroxes, full-size Xeroxes of the inked stuff, the whole inked story, but the originals are gone. Fly Fox Pro, thank you for the advice there. I reach out to some of the collecting community YouTubers. I should do that because then I could talk comics with them, since I'm a ridiculous collector as well. Well, I'm not ridiculous. I don't, I spend a decent amount of money on it, but I'm not like out of control. Because I have a daughter going to college this year, and family and things like that expect me not to spend all my money on comics. So I only actually, well, okay, that's not true. I was going to say I only buy comics when I'm at conventions, and I just sort of like some of the money I make I put into comics. But a lot of times I used to do like a drawing or something and throw it up on eBay when I needed money for a comic book. Now I have a list of commissions, of course, and it's like, ooh, that guy wants this commission. I guess I'll do that commission because then I can buy that comic. So I do a lot of that. But still, most of my purchases are when I go to cons. But we haven't had any cons this year, so we've had to do a little bit more online shopping. And those of you who follow me on Twitter and Facebook, I generally post those books when I buy them, and Instagram. It amazes me the guys that just have just remarkable collections, and it's like really puts me to shame. I'm embarrassed how weak my collection is compared to some of these guys. I think this is pretty cute. All right, let's get in there and get that face inked. Well, what do you mean it sounds like I'm not a Marvel fan? I'm a huge Marvel fan from back in the day. I mean, right now I haven't worked at Marvel in 12 years, so I don't even have a clue what's going on over there. I did have a bit of a falling out with an editor over there, which was one of the reasons why I went to DC, but he's not there anymore. So, or I shouldn't say a falling out, I should say I got ticked. And that was one of the reasons I went over to DC. But no, I mean, I was a Marvel zombie growing up, man. But I just don't keep up with currently what's going on. I mean, honestly, I have a hard time keeping up what's going on at DC. I just kind of put my head down and work. And then I get on a book or something. Like when I took over Wonder Woman, I had no clue about any of the Wonder Woman mythology. I mean, like none. And so I was just like, I took over for Terry left the book and then I took over. And so I was like, I emailed Terry, I was like, who's this character? And he's like, I don't know, I don't remember. So I had a heck of a time because Gail would write, oh yeah, and this guy and this character. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are, So I'd be constantly contacting my editor, do you have a reference for this character? He'd be like, you're kidding me, you don't know who that is? And I'm like, So yeah, I mean, I was a big Marvel reader in the 70s and sporadically through the 80s. And then that was it. I buy old books. I don't buy new stuff. Now, I did buy when Marvel got the Conan license. I bought those first several issues, and I got the Ron Garney Savage Tale stuff because I'm a big fan of Ron's stuff. And, I did read Savage Avengers. I mean, I thought it was really ridiculous when I first saw it, but then someone told me, no, it's really good. You got to read it. So I picked up the first 5 issues and it was really good. I was surprised. Not that wasn't any comment on the writer, or I think Deodato was drawing it, and I like his stuff. So it wasn't that. I just thought the whole concept with, come on, Conan in this bunch of oddball Marvel heroes, but the way they did it, it made perfect sense. I thought, how he ended up getting them together as a team. And so, but I don't get to my comic shop that often. And so I kind of got behind, and like I said, I haven't read anything except the first 5 issues. And it ended actually on something that was kind of, I think Conan and the Punisher were walking across the Savage Land, while some of the other ones people were transporting back, because Brother Voodoo, I think, was transporting him back. Conan's like, by Crom, no magic for me, I'll walk. And then Punisher's like, yeah, I'll go with you. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. But then I never got the next issue. So it's still out there. And I did read in the 90s. I have to admit, I was kind of, when like New Avengers came out, I read that. And because I liked Finch's artwork, and he was on that for a while. And so I read that, and I might have read the first couple issues of Finch's Moon Knight. So I was dialed in a little bit, and then I would, get dialed out again. So I think I just answered that question, Fly Fox Pro. He wants to know, is there any recent storyline or run that you have enjoyed? And yes, that's it. I did read something. I read Batman White Knight or whatever, which I thought was okay. And what else have I read? Whatever I work on, of course, is pure genius, but yeah, that's about it. I'm trying to think of what else I've read. I usually buy stuff for artwork and then just kind of like check the artwork out and maybe read it, maybe not read it, but look at the pictures. But I heard a lot of things about White Knights or White Knight. No, what's it called? Yeah. No. Yeah. Is that Batman White Knight? Well, the thing by Sean Gordon Murphy, right? Yeah, so I got Ben Abernathy to send me a copy so I could read it. And I thought it was a little long, but other than that, I thought it was really good. And I thought the artwork was really cool. And I thought the whole idea of like two different Harley Quinns, I thought that was pretty clever. Alrighty. Okay, so there it is in glorious black and white, folks. Not too shabby. All right, so I'm going to go in and erase some of this. I find these pink pencil top erasers really, really good. I really like using them because they can give me a narrower field to erase on rather than getting a big old eraser. I can just sort of, I mean, obviously now I'm just kind of doing wide erasing, but if there's like, if there's something just like, if you're drawing something on a page or whatever, and it's just a really small thing, you want to go back and erase it and redraw it, they have the little corners on them. You can just get in there and do a little bit of erasing without wrecking the whole face or whatever around whatever the part is you want to erase. And they don't smear. If you get the crappy ones, they're coated and they'll smear the pencil. But these, which I get at like Dick Blick's, like a couple cents a piece, but they're not coated, so they erase really well. All right. I'm going to do her flesh tones, and I don't know. I mean, I know I'm doing this all in gray, but I'm not really sure what. Oh, I think I got her costume pulled up someplace for easy access so that I can kind of not necessarily not match the color, but match the tone or the value. Okay. So I'll do the same thing I did here with Ms. Marvel. I'm going to start with a warm 0 if I can find it. There it is. So I'm just going to go in on her, start with her hair, and I'll work my way down. I used to draw, I used to do everything in neutral gray, and then I saw that, Adam Hughes was using warm grays for flesh tones, and so, whatever Adam does, I could try and copy. So, at least when it comes to Copic markers, because I figure he is a guy who sort of started this whole trend, and so, as far as I know, he did, of doing marker commissions and stuff at shows. I'm just patting this lightly because I don't want to take the chance of smearing or having some of this line stuff bleed. Again, it's not supposed to, but it always seems to. I mean, I asked Mark Brooks about that, and he's like, "Oh man, I've never had that problem." And I'm like, "Dude, why am I the only person in the world who has trouble with these Copic markers bleeding the black?" And it is partially because of the paper, because I use slick paper. And I think I discussed this yesterday. It doesn't really soak in. The black ink doesn't into the paper. It just sort of sits on top. So it takes much longer for it to completely dry. Whereas when you're using a toothy paper that's not coated, the black soaks in to the paper and is less likely to bleed. But even then, I still, every once in a while, there's like one spot or something that just stays wet forever. And then you hit it with the marker and it'll bleed. So I've got to be, if you don't press very hard, and sometimes I get going like this, and I guess I create my own problems. But if you just lightly, because you don't really need to press hard at all, you're less likely to bleed. Or cause your black lines to bleed, I guess I should say. Okay, so we hit everything that's blonde or flesh tone with a warm 0. Let's see. Let's see here. Okay. I'm going to jump in with a warm 2 and do something to this hair. All right. I'm going to go with the 2 down here, but I'll use so drop that in where her cheeks are. Then I'll go back in and hit it over the top with a 0 just to sort of blend it a little bit. The thing is, it lightens up. It lays down dark when it's wet, but then it dries and it gets lighter. So you can be like, oh my gosh, that's too dark. I hit it too hard. And then it's like a couple seconds later, it's like disappearing. You're like, okay, it's fine. Duke. Let me zoom in here a little bit for a better view. So I don't want to get her flesh tone too dark, but I do want it darker than her hair because her hair should be blonde. So I might go in and use a little bit of a 3 in a couple of small spots just to kind of I'm going to go back over that 2 with a 0 to blend it. And leave the highlights in there. Don Corns, Victor says, well, that's really good. Thank you, Victor. I appreciate you saying that. Don Corn says, you mentioned earlier that you might do some extra live drawing when you were doing the sketchbook headshots that you don't get to do tonight. Will there be an announcement for those? I love watching you process. Yeah, I'll post it up on Facebook several hours before I do it. And it'll be in the evening because I know it's tough to, I actually have a lot of people watching from the East Coast. And, you know, I can't do it too early on the West Coast because everybody's, you know, those people who are at work, even if they're at home, they're still like online working or whatever, right? So I try to get it, and I don't want to hit everybody at dinner time. So I figure at 6 o'clock, you know, that's 9 o'clock Eastern time. So maybe that's the best time. So it's going to be 6 or 7, I'm sure, tomorrow. I won't do anything later than 7 o'clock because I know then you guys are already 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Some of you guys actually have to get up in the morning. So I'm just basically working back and forth with a warm 0 and a warm 2. And leaving highlights in here. I mean, there's a warm 0 all the way through, but as I build up around it, this warm 0 is going to feel white, like a, you know, like a highlight. The idea with these markers is you want to use them like watercolors in the sense that don't overwork watercolors. You want to lay them down fast and layer them on top of each other. So there's a certain amount of looseness to them, because if you overwork watercolors, they look horrible. And you kind of do the same thing with markers. You don't want to overwork it. Just, you know, you lay your line down and sort of let it bleed where it's going to bleed, and that's just kind of the natural look of the medium. And sometimes if you're really like me, is very uptight about, you know, you want everything to kind of look airbrushy or whatever, it's kind of hard to get your mind out of that mode. But once you do, you end up being able to do much better work. Well, yeah, it's almost 11 p.m. now. I meant, you know, when I started at 6, it was only be 9 o'clock. So I think that was what you're referencing. Like I've said before, I don't really pay attention to what I say. So, you know, 10 seconds after I say something, I may be like, you're responding to something. I'm like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about because I don't even remember what I just said. The unfortunate thing is you guys can't really see the subtleties of this on the live feed. That it has a totally different look in person. So the people that are actually, you know, they're getting the commission are the only ones who really end up getting to see it. its, what should I say, in its purest form. I mean, the scans are pretty close, but even them, even on those, sometimes with the lighter skin tones and stuff, like that looks pretty light to you guys, I'm sure, but it's actually much darker all the way around in as I sit here looking at it. Sliding all over the place. Okay, so look at your feet. And I'm going to be cross-hatching over those legs with the fishnets. When I get finished up with everything else. Do the markers ever fade over time? That's an excellent question. You can count, if you like hang this up and put it on your wall, I'm sure over time it would. Everything does. Printing inks, you have to be real careful with stuff that's printed. Now I know Colleen Doran is a really big vocal advocate for being anti-Copic markers. And to me, it's kind of strange that, you know, someone would be that adamant about, you know, warning people about Copics, because I don't think it's that big of a deal. I have marker sketches that are 20 years old and haven't faded a bit, but they're, you know, I don't have them hanging up. I have them in a drawer in a portfolio, you know, and I go and look at them. Or if I do put stuff up on the wall, I rotate it out. You know, I do that with movie posters and everything, just because there's always a chance something can fade, even if they're, you know, they'll sit there and claim that it's archival and, you know, won't fade. And I'd never trust that, especially if I spent good money on artwork. I'd want to protect it. So there is kind of that feeling that, yeah, I want to display it, but you want to protect it too. So you can always get stuff with like UV glass in it, and that helps a lot too. Okay, so I just hit the cheeks with a 3 to kind of darken them up, and I'm going to go over the top of that with a 0 and kind of blend them out a little bit. Sort of makes your cheeks, obviously they're not rosy because, you know, it's not color, but that's sort of what you're going for, is give her that feeling of rosy cheeks. And again, and hopefully the use of the 3, it's a little bit darker, so it'll help create a little bit of separation from the hair. Yeah. Most of the time I'll use the broad end, but occasionally I'll use the narrow tip if I just want to hit a smaller area, like on her face. I want a little bit more control. But the idea here is, when you're doing a figure like this, you know, you're trying to work out how am I going to do the lighting and everything. It's like you have to treat each shape or portion of the figure as its own separate geometrical shape, right? And it makes it much easier to sort of figure out how the lighting would work on it. Like this little dip right here is her rib cage coming in, so I'm looking at that as an oval unto itself. So if the light's coming this way, I'm going to shade accordingly. Same thing with her shoulders, or actually these balls up here, right? And so then I shade those accordingly to their shape and where the light source is coming from. And it makes it a little bit easier to round out the figure in a believable way, if that makes any sense. All right, I think that's pretty good on her face anyway. The question is, what color? I had it open and oh, wait a minute. No, that's not it. I'm gonna have to go dig up that reference that dude sent me. So excuse me while I type for just 1 second here. Okay. You can't see it, but I can. Okay, so her top is blue and her shorts are red. Oof. Wow. Okay, so her top is blue. This is pink. I'm not gonna really go that route though. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna eat. I will go ahead and do her sweater because that's dark blue. And I'm going to start with because it's a darker blue. There's no point really starting with a C0 and building my way up all the way up to what would be considered a dark blue. I'm going to start with a C2 as my under color here, if you will. Better zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this. Okay, so yes, this whole sweater is going to be a C2. Okay, so then if I want to go darker, then I'm going to go C3. You're not going to be able to hardly even notice the difference. So I'm going to skip one up to a C4. That's an N4. I don't want that. I want a C4. Okay. And then I'm going to hit underneath, obviously where my shadow areas would be, right? The thing is, it's kind of silly. I do this all the time, but you're not really getting, like on a dark sweater like this, you're not going to be picking up highlights, but I do it anyway. You know, leave these lighter areas. Okay, so then I'm going to go back over that with the C2 to blend these edges a little bit. Leave a little bit of highlight in there, which again, on a sweater, a dark sweater is not necessarily going to be having highlights, but and then voila, dark blue sweater in gray. It's magic. Well, Victor, that's a bit extreme, I think. That I know you're making a joke, but the only markers I ever saw that really, I mean, the old Sharpies will turn purple, but they won't necessarily fade. They just discolor. And then there was these things called Niji stylists. We used to use them when I was working in commercial art for storyboards and stuff, just to do the line work. Those things fade, and they will almost entirely disappear. I told a story a couple nights ago about this big Mignola piece of Hellboy that he drew with an EG stylus that I have that's almost completely disappeared. It's really kind of tragic. It was a big board that we had in our studio in the 90s here in Portland, a bunch of us. And whenever guests would come into town, we'd have them draw on the board. And Mike was a guest at one of the shows. And so he came in and drew this wonderful Hellboy, and it's all but disappeared. So it's really sort of tragic. It's a sad story that actually it is kind of a sad story, because I don't like throwing art away, even art that stinks, because I just have, and that certainly didn't stink, but my point is I just have such respect for people's efforts, you know, when they're doing artwork, that even my crappy stuff early in my career that I'm just totally embarrassed about, I've got it in a drawer over there. I won't throw it away, because it just seems somehow, I don't know, sacrilegious to be like throwing away a comic book. It's like, no matter how bad a condition it is, it's like I can't do it. I got to go find, you know, give it to somebody, even if I don't want it. So yeah, so the sad tale of the disappearing Hellboy, and it was a huge drawing. I mean, it was, you know, it's probably 20 inches high. I mean, it was a really big drawing. It was just a total bummer, because we're all like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And it was in our studio while our studio lasted, and after our studio broke up, much like the Beatles, I kept all this stuff, and so I've got these art boards out there that we had on the wall, and it's got this big blank space that if you look really, really closely, you can see the vague light outline of a Hellboy by Mike Mignola. All right, so it looks like her belts are all pretty much the same, as far as I can tell. So I'll just do that and call it good. Her jeans are red. I don't know if I really want to go in there and glass them with red, but what the heck. I developed this habit a long time ago of just like, it started with me doing Wonder Woman sketches, because I used to do a ton of them. And anything that was red on her costume, I would use a red marker on. So it was always gray with red. And that red and gray always kind of look kind of cool. So now I just do it. And sometimes it's like, seems kind of odd and out of place that I've just got this little bit of red, like on this costume. But it's kind of become a tradition, so I just do it. And okay, her necklace is like orangey, so I'm gonna go with a warm gray 4, if I can find it. There it is, for her necklace and her earrings, because your necklace and earrings have to match, right? I wouldn't know anything about that, but just throwing it out there. Actually, they should match these too, so I better hit this with some 4, because the bracelets, and all that should all sort of be the same. Alrighty, we're getting there. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do the red on her leggings. Should I do the red on her leggings? It's gonna be like too red though. I wonder if I can, because right now the red is centralized, sort of, And if I go down and do these red, then it's going to bring everything down here. I think I'm going to go in. Actually, you know what? If I make her bow red, and then the leggings red, and that red, okay, that'll work. I think that'll solve my balance problem here. If it doesn't work, we're blaming Lewis Bright Raven. Hyper Potato. Did anybody save you a chair? You have to sit on the floor, dude. Sorry, there might be a beanbag chair back there if you look real close. See, the thing is, I don't have like a lighter red, so I can't really blend this at all. I'm going to leave a little white in there because that's just how I roll. If I see a chance to do a highlight, I'll do it. All right, so then I'm going to go up here and make this, which is normally pink, we'll make it red because it's supposed to match her leg warmers. Leg warmers. I was in high school, and I remember girls used to wear super short shorts and leg warmers to school. You're just like, this is distracting me from my educational process. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have red balance. All right, so I'm going to do oops, I should. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and use cool gray for these shades up here. Come in real heavy with a 5. Yeah, Sammy Hagar, the little red rocker, you're right. Some like it hot, I like it red. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with her eyes here and add a little blue. But you guys can't see the blue, but it's there. Okay, so, you know, there's part of me that thinks once I put the cross hatching over her legs, we're going to lose some of that detail. So I'm going to darken up flesh tone a little bit on her legs so that we don't lose this modeling that I've got on there. Or at least we hope I don't. So I'm going to go in here with a 3. You're going to say, Aaron, no, it's too dark. You're insane. But no, I'm not. I'm crazy like a fox. And so then I'm going to go in over the top with a 0. Go down here and do likewise. Where's my 3 at? There it is. Oh, when I'm drawing, I'm supposed to put this banner up, and I forgot to do it. There we go. Oh, I got to keep it light. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the 0 and blend that a little bit. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go in and work on her eyes real quick. And then have a drink of water first. Okay. I gotta find my 0.1. There it is. Okay, so I just want to make these. Oh, everybody barf. Okay. Kind of got this crooked smile going, which I thought was appropriate for her character, or the look of her character. I don't know anything about her character. Okay. So there we go. So I'm going to go and use a 3 to do the fishnets. We're just going to do some cross hatching. Trying to keep these lines even, but once you cross them, it doesn't really matter that much. And yes, I'm holding my breath when I'm doing these lines. Okay, so now we just go the other way. Okay. Okay, just for the record, it's getting super hot up here right now. Even though it's, 8 o'clock at night here, it's still It's like the longer the day gets along, you think, oh, it'd start getting cooler upstairs, right? Well, no, it just gets hotter. It's the weirdest thing. I guess it just takes a while for that heat to rise up. And all right, so let's zoom out of here and see what the heck this thing looks like. Groovy. All right, so I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to go in and punch up the line work around the figure. I'm not sure why I don't do when I do comic work, like interior stuff, I don't like dead line weights, and that's basically what this is called, where you just use a flat line around the figure and whatever you're inking without any variance. And I don't like the way that looks in comics, but I do it, obviously, when I do my commissions, and it looks fine. So I don't know. I think a lot of it is whatever you've trained your mind to like and dislike, and then it's kind of hard to move outside of that because you sort of have to retrain your thinking. Because I'll do something and, I think it'll look terrible, and then I'll see someone else do the same thing and it'll look great, and you're like, well, why does it look okay when he does it and it looks terrible when I do it? And I think it's just because I'm used to doing it a certain way, and I've convinced myself that, well, this looks best when I do it this way, and then you try and do something different, and it is different, and therefore it doesn't look as good as it did, even though it may actually look better to everybody else. So all right. Almost there, folks. Oh, I gotta do her legs, don't I? These are the dangerous ones, these big long lines, but you see as I lock my wrist and kind of turn it to try and keep a steady line. My dog just roamed in. If you hear clicking down there, that's what it is on the floor. But he's probably telling me, I need to go outside. And he's like seconds from peeing. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go in and I think I'll go with a warm 3. We'll do a little bit of an outline job here. And then this will be what we consider in the business as done. Those of you who want to get one of these, the best thing to do is contact me now, so that the next time I do AaronCon, which will probably be in September, to take the place of Rose City Con, which got canceled. then you can get on the list to, because if you wait till the weekend of the show, or the the virtual con, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm doing, I'm already full up. So oops. Gosh, I just refilled this 3 and it feels like it's running out. It's just outrageous. Again, I will post all these scans on Facebook and on Twitter. As they get done, and I can. All right, so there it is. Boom, boom. As Pat Travers would say, boom, boom, out go the lights. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is for Jason Scanlon, and he just joined us, or maybe he's been sitting in the background. He says, it looks fantastic. Thank you. Well, it was my pleasure. It was fun. Where do we go to see prices, email, or what? Yeah, email me about, like, these are $200 plus shipping, these particular things. I do take color commissions, but I don't usually do those on air. And they're bigger and more expensive. But anyway, yeah, email me or message me on Facebook, and we can discuss, what options I have available for commissions. All right, guys, thank you. The compliments are rolling in, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, so it's signed and it's ready to be delivered. All right, you know what? It's been a long haul, folks. And let's see if I can zoom this up to me. See, my face is turning red from the heat up here. No. Okay. All right. So again, everybody that ordered a sketchbook or a sketch or a print or a large JAWS poster, I still have a couple of those left. Thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and taking the time to check this out and actually making it worthwhile and fun for me, posting some questions and stuff, give me a chance to talk with you guys a little bit. So that pretty much wraps up ErinCon 4, the San Diego Comic-Con edition. This is day 4, and this will be it for a while. Well, not really, because I'll probably be back in 6 weeks with another con to take the place of Rose City. I'll hopefully have some new stuff to show you. If anybody's interested in the Justice League pages or any other original artwork I have, some of it's on my website. Most of the newer stuff is not. Just email me or message me about prices and stuff and scans if you need them. Also, the hardcover sketchbooks, $25 signed and numbered, or $45 with a sketch in them. Free shipping until midnight tonight. So if you send me the PayPal money, you can send it directly to me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com, and just make sure your correct mailing address is on there and what you're sending me the money for, whether it's a print or a sketchbook, and what you want in it. And then I'll just do it and get it sent off, and that's kind of the easiest way. If you're interested in original art or getting some comics or whatever else, email me or message me about that stuff, because that varies depending on how many you want and what do I have left, what I don't have left, that kind of thing. So anyway, there it is. Again, thanks everybody for joining me, and I will be probably doing a live feed on either Monday or Tuesday to finish up my sketches in the sketchbooks. So keep your eyes open for that, and I'll see you guys soon. And again, thanks. This is Aaron Kahn saying good night.